Okay, all right. So here's the deal. Come on in here real quick. I want to show you something. So there have been some very spicy arrests going on that are going to surprise you a little bit. First and foremost, business owner pleads guilty to fraud and money laundering schemes. Next one, former IRS employee pleads guilty to tax fraud and Social Security fraud. Next one, St. Louis County man admits stealing dead relatives' government benefits. Next one, OIG reports basically that the Social Security Administration makes progress on improper payments, but still has work to do. Let's get right into it. Here's the deal. These are those individuals who are receiving Social Security benefits in some fashion, some form, that were caught by the SSA and reported to OIG, and OIG sent out CDI units sometimes to go ahead and investigate them. What they found was that fraud or similar fault was afoot. Now, sometimes people legally receive Social Security benefits. Sometimes they illegally receive them. And we're going to be going through essentially what you need to know about these details right here. Let's get into it real quick. All right, so here's the first deal. May 20th, 2025, a business owner pleads guilty to fraud and money laundering schemes. Philadelphia, United States Attorney David Metcalf announced that Zavin Yehiazarian, 44, of Newtown, Pennsylvania, pled guilty before the Honorable Gerald J. Pappert to 13 counts of an indictment charging him with conspiracy, healthcare fraud, wire fraud, and money laundering in connection with his execution of a variety of schemes. So not exactly a nice person, not exactly a good-hearted person here, okay? The charges arose from the defendant's commission of fraud offenses targeting, among others, government programs, including through the use of shell companies and false identities between January 2020 and April 2024. So basically like Biden era, okay? The defendant's fraud offenses targeted two government programs which offered relief during the COVID-19 pandemic: the Small Business Administration's Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program and the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. In addition, the defendant admitted that he participated in a scheme to defraud the Medicare program. Based upon his guilty pleas to the 13 counts, the defendant faces a maximum possible sentence of 230 years in prison, a 3-year period of supervised release, and a $3,250,000 fine, restitution of $334,905. I mean, this guy, that's big money, this guy did. The forfeiture sentencing is scheduled for September 4th, 2025. The case was investigated by the Social Security Administration, Office of the Inspector General, along with the IRS and many other groups. He is our first baddie that basically went and stole a bunch of money, Social Security fraud, the whole schmutz, COVID fraud, all that stuff, and did a bunch of schemes. Next one, former IRS employee pleads guilty to tax fraud and Social Security fraud. So basically, an IRS employee did some very, very bad things. Let's go into it. May 21st, 2025, Boston, a former Internal Revenue Service employee pled guilty today in federal court in Boston to filing false tax returns in order to fraudulently obtain tax refunds and stealing Social Security benefits. What a sweetheart. Let's go into it real quick. Kathleen Mannion, 58, of Lawrence, pled guilty to 4 counts of aiding and assisting in the preparation and filing of false tax return and 1 count of theft of government money. U.S. District Court Judge Nathaniel M. Gordon scheduled sentencing for September 3rd, 2025. Mannion was charged in March of 2025. So, okay, here we go. From 1998 to 2009, Mannion worked as an IRS contact representative in Andover, Massachusetts between approximately July 2020 through April of 2023. Mannion prepared and filed income tax returns for other individuals with the IRS. Even though Mannion prepared these returns on behalf of other individuals, she did not list herself as the tax return preparer. Instead, Mannion prepared the returns to appear as if the taxpayers prepared the returns on their own. Further, Mannion listed ineligible dependents on the tax returns, resulting in higher refund amounts for which the taxpayers did not qualify, all without the knowledge of the taxpayers. The taxpayers were actually innocent in all this. Mannion also filed forms with the IRS directing that a portion of the fraudulently obtained tax returns be deposited in her personal bank accounts, which she then used for her personal benefit. Separately, between April and October 2020, Mannion applied for Social Security retirement spouse and widow benefits with the Social Security Administration via telephone for other individuals. Unbeknownst to these individuals, these beneficiaries, Mannion directed SSA to deposit the Social Security benefits in her personal bank accounts, which she also used for her personal benefit. I mean, this is IRS agent gone awry, let me tell you. I mean, that's a gov employee right there. The charge of aiding and assisting the preparation of filing a false tax return provides for a sentence of up to 3 years in prison, 1 year of supervised release, and a fine of up to $250,000. The charge of theft of government money provides for a sentence of up to 10 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of $250,000. Sentences are imposed by a federal district court judge based upon the U.S. sentencing guidelines and other statutory factors. United States Attorney Leah B. Foley, Thomas DeMeo, acting special agent in charge of the Internal Revenue Service, Boston Field Office, Social Security Administration, Office of Inspector General, they all reviewed this one. But again, it is always not a good sign to see when a former IRS employee who also filed people for widows benefits, spousal benefits, etc. But when a former employee of the government in a tax prep, sort of position, went ahead and essentially frauded people out of their money. Not good, but also not uncommon. Let's get to the next one. St. Louis County man admits stealing dead relatives' government benefits. All right, St. Louis, a man from St. Louis County, Missouri on Wednesday admitted stealing a dead relative's government benefits. Alfonso Dixon, 57, of St. Louis County, Missouri, pled guilty to 1 count of theft of government money. Okay. Dixon's relative died on December 31st, 2008, but her death, we know where this one's going, was not reported to the Social Security Administration, and her Social Security benefits continue to be deposited into her bank account. She also received at least one COVID-related stimulus payment, and on April 7th, 2021, as well as pension benefits from the City of St. Louis Employees Retirement System. So we're talking about 3 different sources of benefits, Social Security retirement being the main one. Dixon accessed her bank account and used that money for his own benefit. In all, Dixon took $115,392 in Social Security benefits and $1,400 stimulus payments and $36,000 in pension money. Okay. Dixon is scheduled to be sentenced on August 21st. The charge carries a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine, or both prison and a fine. The Social Security Administration Office of Inspector General investigated the case. Assistant U.S. Attorney Gwen Carroll is prosecuting the case. So just a side note, we're going to go through what we can learn from each one of these kind of cases. We're going to go through the basics so you understand it. Before we go into the next one, I just want to go through what can we learn from the St. Louis County man that admits to stealing the relative's government benefits. Bottom line is, like, the SSA they know when somebody's retired and they potentially have died because that person is no longer using their Medicare. And so what they do is they send out a proof of life form, and then somebody has to either lie on it or say, no, the person just recently passed away. We don't know where the body is, blah, 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 which of course is a harder thing to say. So when you think you can get away with like getting somebody's retirement benefits, it's not going to happen. And the reason why is unless you have an actress or an actor who is of the similar age, who can step in and go get that medical treatment for that individual utilizing that Medicaid, and who looks like that person. Like if you had a sister of that person, a brother of that person, and they matched, then yeah, maybe you could pull it off. But at some point, it's got to be cut off. Otherwise, it's just not going to work because the person that is elderly is no longer using their Medicare or their Medicaid. And the SSA is going to look at that and they're going to go, wait a minute. For 4 years, they haven't been using Medicare. For 5 years, they haven't been using their Medicaid. This person's now 86 years old. How does that work? You know what I mean? They have no medical problems. Come on now. Now, next one over here. What can we learn? Former IRS employee pleads guilty to tax fraud and Social Security fraud. The thing you can learn from this one is pretty simple and straightforward. Basically, when you hire a professional to do something, their name goes on it unless they have contracted with you ahead of time to not have their name going on the document. Okay. That's the basic thing, right? Former IRS employee, please. What she did was she put stuff into her bank account. She didn't put her name on it, and she made it harder for the government to go ahead and track her and find her. But again, when you have the government directly deposit funds into your personal account, like, they're going to find you. They're going to get you. It's going to happen. All right. So what can you learn? When you hire a professional, make sure they put their name on it unless they contract with you otherwise. All right. Next one over here. Business owner pleads guilty to fraud and money laundering schemes. Look, so here's the thing. People are going to be stealing your Social Security identification potentially in the future. We don't want that. That's bad. And as a result, you just have to understand there's a lot of schemers out there that are going to do whatever they can to get access to your good credit, right? Sometimes it's your benefits, but sometimes and mostly it's your good credit so that they can take money out against you. That's the main goal here. So bottom line is essentially you have to protect your Social Security number, but to be fair, the main thing is you have to also protect your credit. So when there's like those programs, those companies that like protect your credit, something else to think about. Final sheet from OIG. Let's get into it. The Social Security Administration makes progress on improper payments, but still has work to do. Yeah, big work. But May 22nd, 2025, in fiscal year 2024, the Social Security Administration paid over 1.5 trillion in benefits in the old age survivors and disability insurance and supplemental security income programs. So like what they paid out in total was 1.5 trillion in benefits. Okay. It used to be 1.4. We're now at 1.5 trillion. Okay. We went up a billion. Next one, SSA. No, sorry, we went up. I guess that would be 100 billion. Yeah, we went up 100 billion. SSA must be a responsible steward of the taxpayer funds by minimizing the risk of making improper payments. Makes sense. And recovering overpayments. Even the slightest payment process error can result in millions of dollars in improper payments, both overpayments and underpayments to beneficiaries and recipients. Preventing improper payments is more advantageous than recovering them, since the agency must expend additional resources to recover overpayments or process additional actions to rectify the underpayments. Because remember, people aren't cheap. They're employees. The most expensive part of a business is almost always the payroll. It's almost always the payroll. So the bottom line is they got to pay people to then follow up to try and recover the funds. But you know how it goes. Most of these Social Security recipients, they get the money, they spend the money. They get the money, they spend the money. That's how it is. They don't have lots of money. They don't have much in reserve. Improper payments are a long-standing and significant problem in the federal government. On March 2nd, 2020, President Donald J. Trump signed the Payment Integrity Information Act. To improve efforts to identify and reduce government-wide improper payments, agencies are required to report specific improper payment information of their annual financial reports and actions it has taken or plans to take. Okay, so remember, this is going to be a puff piece for Trump. Just be aware of that, to recover and prevent future improper payments. Further, the law requires inspector generals to review their agency's improper payment information and issue an annual report on compliance with applicable PIIA criteria. The SSA Office of the Inspector General's annual audit report, the Social Security Administration's compliance with the Payment Integrity Information Act in fiscal year 2024, found the agency complied with 8 PIIA reporting requirements, but did not comply with 2 in the SSA. It's in the Supplemental Security Income Program. SSI provides monthly payments to people with disabilities and older adults who have little or no income or resources. While the SSA has made progress implementing corrective actions for both the OASDI and SSI programs, the agency did not demonstrate improvements to payment integrity or achieve its tolerable and proper payment rate for the SSI program. The SSI payment rate increased from 9.41%, approximately $5.3 billion in fiscal year 2019, to 10.62%, $6.5 billion in fiscal year 2023. It's, let's just be fair about that. There's a lot of SSI people. The SSI program declines and grows. But, bottom line is the government's trying to close the doors a little bit more on how many people get SSI benefits going forward. According to the SSA, the agency's reliance on self-reporting by beneficiaries, recipients, and their representative payees, who are required to notify the SSA when a change occurs affecting their SSI eligibility and payment amounts, leads to many improper payments. Now, to be fair, the least educated, the least knowledgeable group on Social Security benefits are the supplemental security income recipients. They have the least education in general. They have the least training and technical abilities from jobs. And throwing into the mix of that, there's a whole chunk of them that are just immigrants that fall into those who are entrants, asylum seekers, refugees, those who are trafficked. So the SSI group is where you're going to see a lot of overpayments occurring because they just don't have the knowledge base. They don't have basically the understanding of when they need to report. Failure to report these changes continues to be a primary cause of overpayments. One of the leading causes of overpayments to SSI recipients is recipients' unreported resources and financial accounts that exceed allowable amounts. That's the $2,000 resource limit. SSA has tools such as the Access to Financial Institutions AFI program to help identify excess resources. Put another way, they can snoop on your finances if you're on SSI at any point. And they do. They do. They literally have reporting systems to look into them. Using AFI, SSI verifies alleged bank account balances with financial institutions and searches for undisclosed accounts at geographically relevant locations. Put another way, if you have a bank account outside of the country, they're going to try and find it. They're going to try and find it. SSA uses AFI when it processes initial SSI applications and periodic eligibility redeterminations. However, according to the SSA, in fiscal year 2023, 89% of overpayments resulting from excess resources and financial accounts occurred because of recipients' changes after SSA approved their initial SSI applications or completed eligibility redeterminations. Now, to be fair, a lot of that, to be fair, is the Republicans' fault. The Democrats have wanted to raise that $2,000 resource limit up to $10,000 for a long time, decades now. If you just raise it to $5,000 resource limit, you would not have as many overpayments occurring, because having $2,000 in your bank is just not a big deal like it used to be. Okay, it's just not. You know, if you get any payment of money of this or that, you add it with your, you know, your actual monthly, and then boom, you know, it's going to trigger the thing. The computer's going to go off, and there you go. OIG estimates SSA could have prevented approximately $2 billion in overpayments in fiscal year 2023 had it performed AFI searches between approving recipients' initial applications and completing redeterminations. So, you know, just to be fair, when you're applying as an SSI recipient, they're going to try to snoop more on your bank accounts. That's like the direction here. They're going to get into your bank. They're going to see what you got, all that stuff. Because when you're an SSI person, you sign on that form, I allow the SSA to access my bank accounts. OIG previously recommended the SSA conduct a study to expand the use of AFI. SSA has not implemented this recommendation. All right, so what's going to happen? When Republicans get in, overpayments are like focal point. They like to talk about getting overpayments paid back. SSI people are a big detail for getting overpayments paid back. The kicker is SSI people don't have much money. Like they don't have much money. So as a result of that, what happens is, what happens is, the Democrats got in. They're like, shit, we really can't get overpayments back from the SSI people because guess what? They don't have any money, and they're not going to have any money. So the Democrats are like, all right, we're not going to go after them for as much overpayments. The Republicans are not coming in, and they're wet to it. They're wet to it. They're new. They're green to the whole thing. They're like, trying to walk around in the room where the dark, where the lights are off, right? So the problem is this: the Republicans have to realize, and they're not there yet. They'll get there, but they're not there yet. Remember, I'm an independent. I'm gonna show you what the Democrats did wrong and what the Republicans did wrong as well. But the Republicans are sitting there, right? And they're like, all right. At the end of the day, how much can we get out of these SSI people? And they're going to start doing the math, and they're going to realize the SSI people don't have enough for the rent, don't have enough for the food, don't have enough for the utilities. We go into shit show mode because very quickly, we realize at the end of the day that you cannot get money out of the SSI people when an overpayment occurs unless you can snatch it out of their account, basically before they spend it on their rent, which, is not a good thing for the news stations, because all they're going to do is they're going to go grab every single SSI person that had the money snatched out of their account before they could pay rent, and they're just going to, CNN, ABC, NBC, they're going to just put that 24/7 on the news. So the Republicans have a problem. The Republicans want to take over the Social Security Administration. They want to get Republicans working at the Social Security Administration, which, that's a trick unto itself. I'm not going to go into why, but that's a trick unto itself. And then ultimately, what they're trying to do is they're trying to go ahead and make it so that it's running more efficiently. Now, look, I don't blame them for running it more efficiently, seeking to find fraud, etc. They found it. I've been doing videos about arrested Social Security recipients. I've done videos on SSA employees who were arrested. I've done all those kinds of videos. So, the bottom line is fraud is rampant. Yes, it's there. Yes, it exists. Yes, there's schemes. Yes, there's fraud. They are creating fake Social Security numbers. They are creating fake children that don't exist and attaching them to somebody who passed away to get an auxiliary benefit out of the child that doesn't even exist, and then put it through a couple accounts, a PayPal account, and boom, it ends up in an SSI it ends up in a Social Security Administration's employee person's bank account. That was a real case. Here's my point with this. And I just want to be very, very clear with the whole situation. I just want to be very direct with you. The Republicans are coming into the Social Security Administration at a very difficult time. It is not an agency that is doing well. The red blinking light is on. It is strobing. So they've got to figure out how to make this thing work better, and they have to do it real fast. Now, the Republicans can either A, pull this off, in which case the Democrats will lose one of their main 3 cards to get votes. Main 3 cards are, number 1, the Social Security card. The Republicans are going to take it away from you. Number 2, the race card. The Republicans hate this group or that group, right? They'll play that card. Or number 3, right? The female rights card. Female rights cards, taking away females' rights to this or that or this or that, right? Although, just to be fair, if you guys have ever taken a gander at what's called selective service, women have consistently had a massively better right than men. So every time somebody goes, women's rights, I turn to them and go, do you know what selective service is? Because your name is not on the list that mine is. Just to be fair, you know what I mean? A war breaks out. Guess who they're going to call? They're going to call me. And the female standing next to me, they're not going to call her because she's not on the list. Anyways, I digress. The point is, you have to understand the Republicans have to bang their knee. They got to chip their tooth. They got to learn how the Social Security Administration really works. Now, are they taking a giant a hatchet to it, carving out giant pieces, shutting down some offices or parts of offices here and there? Yeah, they're doing that. They're doing that. But they've got to touch the hot stove a couple of times, and they've had to pull back ideas that they wanted to do. It was weird. Some of the stuff that Doge was pushing, that they just didn't know. They didn't know what they were doing. Now, they're getting better at it, but they're still not where they need to be. Now, the next video that I'm going to be doing, we're going to be going into essentially a secret recording that was released and is now going viral. A secret recording that came from a Social Security employee that, may not make that Social Security Administration, that employee, look as favorable as he would like. We're going to go through it very soon. And it is something that was meant to be a private room. So it should be interesting, is I guess what I'm saying with it. Now, please remember to hit that like button. Come on, guys. Subscribe, head over to Google, type in Disability Resolution Law Firm or Disability Resolution Florida. Throw some stars up there if you like. I always appreciate seeing them. With that said, we are going to be going live tonight where I answer questions. I go live Mondays and Thursdays to answer questions. And there is a private contract in the bio below where I do a consultation for 1 hour. You can go ahead and buy an hour. We'll get you set up. We'll go through whatever difficult thing is going on. Anyways, I will catch you a little bit later. I do like Rude Rabbit's idea about a Hawaiian shirt on Fridays. I'll catch you all a little bit later. Yeah, it is Friday now. It's 12:07 a.m. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Give me about 5 to 10 minutes. We'll rock and roll from there, and then we should be good to go. Thank you so much. Attorney Walter Hnot. Have a wonderful night, and we'll go from there. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.